And here, Federal Prison Time Consulting, and today we have Shelly with us. Shelly, how are you doing?
I'm back.
You're back. So this is live streaming right now at a couple places, and if anybody hears any like reverb or background noises, because we had a couple different microphones running here, please let me know as we'll be watching for the comments. So those of you that don't know, Shelly is my girlfriend of how many years now?
Excellent question.
2006. Went to prison with me, and today's your self-surrender anniversary of, you said 8 years. Man, that's been a long time. I thought it was 7.
Right about now, I was coming back from Chow Hall. This older black lady that had a walker let me go with her, and we got to go early to dinner. And it was spaghetti night. I never ate garlic bread on a hot dog bun. It was awful, but now I like it.
So you served, well, you got sentenced to 13 months. I'm sorry. I'm sitting on a whole different side. This is a crazy setup today. So 13 months, and you served 8, right?
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about kind of pre-prison, during prison, and life after prison. And again, please, guys, comment. Let me know if the audio sounds okay, because this is a new setup, as most of you are probably telling right now. Hey, Wendy. We got Wendy in the room. Juan, what's going on, Juan? Juan Carlos, Shelly. That's, do you know who that is?
Sounds familiar. I know a lot of.
He goes by a different name. He was one of our our biggest pain in the ass client who we got probation, and then he violated.
Oh my gosh. Vroom vroom.
Yep. So yeah, hey Juan, what's going on? Everybody says we sound good. Okay, good to know.
Cool.
And we also have Garrett with us. Garrett.
Hey.
Garrett's our engineer over here. Garrett's keeping an eye on the comments. We have a comment troll out there. So Garrett, keep an eye on those comments. If you see anything coming in extra nasty, let me know.
I'm like a moderator of some kind, right?
Exactly.
Garrett, the moderator, guys. All right. So Shelly, tell us a little bit about what it was like for you originally getting indicted. What did that feel like?
Man, I get indicted, and when they came to raid the house, confused. Getting indicted.
Well, your indictment was the same. Oh, you mean the raid in Savannah or the raid in Palm Beach?
Exactly. I get them confused. Indicted, it was Palm Beach.
Yeah. So take us all the way back for, I don't know if you guys have really heard it from Shelly's perspective. So when we originally got in trouble, what was the date? Do you remember? I know it was 2011. May 26, 2011.
Yeah.
Man, it seems like it was so long ago, because you surrendered 8 years ago. So that was what? That was
14.
14.
Yeah.
So that was 10 years ago?
8.
No, your surrender was 8 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a lot.
So
we math.
Man. So the day, actually, Garrett, take us over to the, bring up the screen in the background for a second. If you look at the picture, guys, there's the two in the middle, the one on the left where Shelly and I are having a drink. That was the day Shelly turned herself in. We got to Coleman kind of early. You had to be there, what, 2 p.m., right?
I had to be there at 2 p.m. And we've been driving around trying to find a bar for like an hour and a half. We finally found one at like 12:45.
So we found a bar up in Coleman, Florida.
Leesburg,
right outside Ocala area. And we had I was drinking a beer, obviously, but we were drinking vodka and soda, right? Yeah. So we're celebrating that today. So we're celebrating that today. So cheers, Shelly.
Cheers.
With our vodka and soda. Shelly's got a straw because she spills it on herself all the time.
Because I whiten my teeth and I got to keep the cold off it.
So Shelly, originally when we got in trouble, what did that feel like? What like we have any idea that we were under any kind of investigation at that point, do you think?
No, the authorities came in, and a few times they told us, you guys are not in code. You need to have cotton swabs. Like we had to have all the doctors set up. Like we're going to do actual physicals. And they just kept on coming in with petty stuff. And honestly, when they came and got us on May 26th in Savannah and actually shut us down and raided the clinic, they shut us down for a code violation. It wasn't anything else. So they still didn't really say what we did wrong.
Yeah. So when they came in a couple times, there was like some code issues. There wasn't like enough posters around. The owners, they went and got all the stuff, and they made it presented it to
look
look
legit.
legit. And that was something they used against us too. And they were like, well, why did you make all these changes for us? I said, well, we wanted to make it look legit.
Well, it's exactly what you were saying that we should do. We did it.
Right. But ultimately, where we were working, we did know that people were coming there and coming from all these far land places to get their prescriptions. When the feds finally came, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, because we had started to open another pain clinic, and you were in Savannah. And what was that morning like when they raided the house? Like, how early was it? What was going on?
It was 6:30. They came to the door and banged very, very hard. And I saw who it was, and I wasn't really scared because I was prepared for it, because the people we worked for talked about it often and said they had attorneys on retainer, and they've came in and asked us questions before. So I wasn't really scared. I just thought, okay, this is another legal thing. No, they took me in another room, our co-defendant in another room. They went through everything in the house. It was awful. I didn't even have time to shower or brush my teeth. They made me get dressed and look somewhat presentable, even though I was crying all morning, and took me to the pain clinic to go raid that too.
So when they got you at the pain clinic, they were trying to get everybody at the same time, right? They'd already gotten the doctor. They got Costa, one of our co-defendants, same time they got you.
Yep.
So on the way to the pain clinic, because there was people at the pain clinic waiting to come in, the patients outside. And it was, you were with a female agent. Was her name like Angela or something like that? Angela, the female agent, not Asian agent. She do something with her gun because she didn't want the patients
She
to
put
see
the
it.
gun in my purse.
Who was carrying the purse?
She carried the purse. I had it in my hand, and she put it in there and then carried my purse in.
So she put the gun in your purse to carry it in. She didn't have like a holster. Like, I thought these guys had like holsters and stuff under their jackets.
She dressed cute that day for the cameras, I guess.
I kind of remember when we were in the interrogation room that didn't even seem like the DEA really liked her that much.
She was kind to me. She was the most kind of all the agents.
That's probably why they didn't like her.
Yeah. She was still an agent, and I still had my guard up, but she was the most kind of all of them.
Let's see, I'm reading these questions here. Was RDAP Dan a nurse? No, I was not a nurse. Whoever Husker Nation is. Husker Nation, no, I was not a nurse. If you want to, any of you that want to know like the whole story, I have videos up on my channel. You can go kind of watch the whole story. But no, neither one of us were nurses. We got offered a job to manage this place and kind of run it. This is why the writing was on the walls. Like, Shelly, you didn't even want to work there. Like, Shelly.
No, I was waiting for my cosmetology license to go through so I could go get a job anywhere in Savannah and do hair. I just went through school.
Right. Yeah, you didn't want to do this at all. Even before we moved there, you tried to talk me out of it several times, and I pleaded and I did everything I could do to get you to go with me, because I wasn't going to go by myself. That was for sure.
I took a little vacation out there on my birthday with the dogs, and it was beautiful. It was awesome. It was so different than South Florida. And I was like, all right, I'll go. And I only worked there from March 17th to May 26th.
And I was there. When did I get there? In January?
You started doing marketing in January. I don't think they opened until mid-February.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And at the end of the day, guys, it wasn't worth it at all for all the headaches and the trouble we went through, the pre-trial, the getting indicted, going to prison. How much money do you think we made?
Ooh, big bucks.
How much
I made
money?
$15 an hour. So I came out at a whopping $600 a week, and you started at $700 a week. And I think you finished with about close to that.
I think at the very end they're paying. So originally the whole thing was I was offered $10,000 a month, which should have been a major red flag there that I didn't pay attention to, because I was, greedy and desperate and didn't want to work for my money at that point. 10 grand a month plus all expenses paid. Our house, they did pay our house, but they were also going to pay my my condo back in Palm Beach County, because I'd go back on the weekend to see the kids. And it never really just worked. They never gave me the $10,000 a month. Originally it was like $500 or $600 a month, and they upped it to like $750. And then the last couple of weeks was getting like $1,000 a week.
But we weren't even open in very many weeks.
No. But I was up there doing all the other stuff
Yeah.
before that, all the marketing.
Mm.
We'll have to do story time about the marketing at the pain clinic, because that was I don't think they teach that kind of marketing in any kind of school. It's like excessive guerrilla marketing, very scary. We could have gotten killed, that kind of marketing. It was dangerous marketing.
It's like GORR or RILLA, guerrilla.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
For sure. Husker Nation says you have nice hair.
Why, thank you.
She was so worried. Usually I sit where she's sitting, because I like blue, and I figured it's my podcast and I sit where I want, but not today. Brought Shelly in, had a whole bunch of things. I should have brought like a makeup crew with me. You were all worried about how you're going to look on camera.
I
but
was
anyway.
so worried. Thank you.
Yeah. So Kevin watched the story. Kevin knows. Kevin says, chasing cars is not marketing.
You got to look for
Kevin,
the license plates.
but what
Kevin.
you do with the cars after the fact is marketing. Kevin, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It was very dangerous. It was stupid, but it wasn't there was a rush of adrenaline doing this. I have so many regrets, but we're going to jump forward to this because today's your anniversary day. It's weird because people, a lot of people ask me, do you get nostalgic? Do you get sad on this day? I don't. I mean, it was your day to self-surrender, even though I drove you up there. How do you feel on this day normally? Is it just
I never get sad on any kind of holidays, like an anniversary of a death. It's something to celebrate. Like I went to prison and I'm having a drink right now. Any reason to be happy and go out and get out of my house and have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go get drunk. I'm just saying get out and it's just a memory.
So take us through that day. Do you remember that day of driving to Coleman, like what we did that morning?
Yeah.
We drove from West Palm Beach.
So we lived on 45th Street right off of there, and we went to that racetrack.
You make it sound so hood when the way you say it, where we lived.
It was hood.
Oh, we lived in a decent townhouse area.
I mean, the racetrack was in the hood.
This is why I don't bring Shelly on the radio.
Maybe I'm a pity.
God, trust me, it wasn't hood. Some people are thinking, my goodness. Continue, Shelly. Continue your story.
Okay, it wasn't hood. But the racetrack that we went to is kind of in the hood. Anyway,
racetrack as a gas station.
If anyone lives in West Palm Beach, they know 45th Street and they know what I'm talking about. So we go to the racetrack. I got a 32-ounce Dr. Pepper and coffees, and we're driving in your BMW convertible that's up for repo. I don't think we had fake tags on. I don't know. We're driving to Coleman.
Yeah, we were living a very, very interesting life at this point.
We weren't sure what was going on, so we were saving our money, what we had. We were driving up to Coleman, and as we got past, Orlando, it started getting hilly, and it was beautiful, and it was really pretty, and it was kind of peaceful. We didn't really talk much. We were more thinking, and we were holding hands.
Very, very. That's probably was that the last time we held hands?
Maybe, but we weren't really. Oh, I'm gonna miss you so much. We weren't sure what was gonna happen because we weren't on the best of terms, also. So I wasn't sure if we were going to make it there or not. It was just very bittersweet that we had to find homes for animals for the next year or more. And it was just an awful, awful time that we both went through.
I wasn't sentenced yet, right?
No. Yes, you got sentenced when I was driving the animals to Washington.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I was in Colorado. I remember it.
So at this point, yeah, we were very confused on like how things were going to go in the future because she had a 13-month sentence and I had a 42-month sentence. And at this point, we had no idea that RDAP was going to be something I was going to get into. We didn't know I was going to get almost 12 months of halfway house. So basically, we didn't know I was only going to serve 13 months out of my 42. I think at least I was expecting to do at least 2.5 to 3 years. And that would have given you a year plus after me to be out by yourself. So self-surrendering. So we got to Coleman, and that prison was way out there, huh? When we got off. We took the turnpike, right?
We took the turnpike, and then we got to Coleman first. We wanted to find the prison before we went and found a restaurant to go eat at because we weren't sure how long I had because I had to be there at 2. So we found that first, which was probably the mistake that we made because it's way off the beaten path. It was bleak. We drove to the medium because my paperwork said I had to surrender at the medium like everyone else all of our clients say, oh, I got to go to a medium. I thought it was a camp. I was at the satellite camp. So I'm walking into the men's medium like, what in the hell is going on?
Remember we were taking the pictures and stuff and they got mad and tried to make us delete the pictures.
Yeah.
Carry the story for a minute. Tell us about that because I got to show Garrett something that he can click on. So when we first went to the medium, Daniel was trying to record me going into the prison and the officers came out and said we couldn't record. And it felt like they had some kind of surveillance or drones. Like they could see what was on our phone. But now I know that was BS. It was just them flexing their authority. But it felt very scary. Like if you've never been in trouble, and I've never been to county jail, I've never been in handcuffs. It was terrifying. I was like, oh my God. It was so scary. Yeah. And when we got there, I remember driving because, you know, we went to the medium and then we figured out where you were. And when I saw the low, I was like, oh my God.
The fence with the barbed wire.
The barbed wire. And I saw the
towers.
penitentiaries next to it. And I just had no idea what the difference was going to be of like where I was going. Cause I thought I was going to a camp this entire time.
Yeah.
I literally thought I was going, even when I got my paperwork where I was self-surrendering, I had no idea that I had an open case or a detainer. My attorney didn't tell me this. My attorney didn't catch it. I didn't know how to read a pre-sentence report. So when I got my PSR, I was just like, oh, great. Another stack of fucking paper, that mumbo jumbo.
Daniel's attorney was paid. So
my attorney, what?
You paid for your attorney. So there's.
Yeah. Well, originally I had a federally appointed attorney. This guy named Dennis, which Dennis was cool, I guess. Cool. And I mean, I guess you don't really want a cool attorney. He was laid back, easy to talk to. But I remember every time we would go to any meetings, and you never went to any of these because I always had to travel back to Savannah to go to any of these court hearings. I remember every time we would sit at the table where the government was, when I would sit with like Carl Kanoki and Doug Kahn, and there's some names from the past, I know. When we would, I remember we got to the federal building in Savannah, and we got there the same time as Carl Kanoki. So it's me and Dennis walking in, and I remember the you know, the guys when you go in the federal building, the guards, the security or whatever, they looked at me, they're like, "Oh, you must be a new agent." And I was like, "Yeah, nope, I'm a criminal.
I'm a new felon.
I'm a new felon." But thanks for the compliment. But I remember we all got in the elevator together, and Carl Kanoki was in the elevator, and Dennis was so like fanboy over
a celebrity sighting.
He's like, "Oh, Mr. Kanoki," and I'm just like, "Dude, don't talk to this guy like he's don't treat him like he's like God. This guy's gonna crush us." And from that point forward, I was just like, man, my attorney, like,
exactly what you're saying is how most criminal defense attorneys are. They want to be that person because that's the money or that's the respect. So it seems like they kiss their ass, and you're like, what about me?
Yeah, what about the guy you're supposed to be defending? And it sucks because, you know, now with what we do, we talk to clients every single day that are like, man, my attorney feels like they're working for the government. And it's not that they're working for the government, but they definitely don't want to piss off the government at all. It's
their ultimate boss. That's where they aspire to be. It seems like not everyone, but
yeah, it sucked. It was really a shitty feeling. And at this point, though, this is obviously before you got sentenced. Shelly was the first one in our case to get sentenced out of everybody in the indictment. And how many of us were in the indictment? There was,
I want to say 7, but I could be wrong.
I think there might have been a couple more. Let's call it 10. Just to, you know, it might have been 10 or less.
There was a company as well. So.
Yeah. And nobody thought Shelly was going to get prison time. Like, because
Shelly thought she was getting 6 months or less.
I don't remember that, but she was awfulizing. But the reality is that she didn't even get charged with, like, everybody got charged with conspiracy. Shelly was the only one that didn't get a conspiracy charge. They gave Shelly a charge of it's called misprision of a felony, which is a very, very low level felony. And she was also the lowest man on the totem pole. Everybody else had been pre-indicted earlier on. Like, we all knew we were going to get indicted. Shelly was the only one that basically they gave her an attorney right out of the gate when they originally hit us in 2011. We all got these attorneys, but then all of a sudden one day Shelly calls her attorney and he's like, "I'm not your attorney anymore." So we just assumed, oh,
I'm off the hook.
They cut Shelly free. Yeah, that wasn't the case because then they eventually came and indicted, and that's when she found
when
out.
When they came to actually serve me my indictment, I just got a job working at Sport Clips cutting hair. Finally, I was back cutting hair for the first time, and they came into my shower and pulled me out naked. That was so humiliating.
It was a female.
It was a female.
Yeah.
But it was humiliating. And we thought they were there. Daniel went downstairs. He thought they were there to repo my Volkswagen because I hadn't made payments in 2 months.
Well, it's because when they came that morning, and this was in 2013 or 14?
13.
So this was looks like the end of 13, right?
It was like end of February of 13.
Really?
Yeah.
So we went all that long. Okay. See, horrible with time frames. So when they came, we hadn't heard anything for a while. Shelly was in the shower. We lived in a townhouse, 2-story townhouse in the hood in 45th Street.
It wasn't in the hood. The gas station was in the hood.
And they I heard a knock at the gate, or I didn't hear a knock at the gate. I heard the gate rattle, and we had a couple cats at that point. And I thought maybe one of the cats jumped up on the gate because the cats would make the gate rattle. So I get up, but the rattle sounded a little bit louder than normal cat rattle. Hashtag cat rattle. DJ cat rattle. So, so I get up and I walk to the bedroom. We had a sliding a balcony on the in the master bedroom, and I walked over to the balcony, opened the sliding glass door, and I don't see any cat. But then I see this guy lean back from underneath the balcony because the front door is directly underneath the balcony. So he leans back and he looks up, and we make eye contact. And they had was it DA or was it I think it was, we'll call it DA. It doesn't matter at this point. Some federal agent. All of a sudden they see me.
I think it was just the marshals. I think the
DA
was
U.S. Marshals.
The marshals was the second one.
So they open the door and they scream, Shelly Morford. Or no, U.S. Marshals coming in. Shelly Morford, we have a warrant for your arrest. And I hear that. She didn't hear it. She's in the shower. And for at least a good second, I was like, whew, they're not here for me. Thank God. What did Shelly do? Bad, Shelly, bad. So, but our dogs, they ran down the stairs. So I tear off after the dogs. I get to the landing on the stairway, and there's marshals just fled in the house. They were just everywhere. There must have been close to 8 or 9 of them, maybe 10.
I felt like there was like 12 because there was at least 4 or 5 cars.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like we were,
It was embarrassing. So humiliating. All the neighbors were outside. Their kids were going to school. It was embarrassing.
And when I got to the stairs, they had guns pointed at our little dog Oliver, a little broken wing Oliver Chihuahua, who just passed away. God bless your heart, little Ollie. When they did that, I picked up my dog and they told me, identify yourself. What's your name? I said, my name's Daniel Wise. And that's when they're like, we have a warrant for your arrest out of Savannah. Put your hands behind your back. So they handcuffed me. They put me down. I don't even know what they were saying. They were trying to go through my phone. They wanted me to unlock my phone, which I refused to do at this point because we already been through this shit once where they came in and like took all our stuff. So I was like, if you don't have a warrant, nope, not doing it, not unlocking nothing. They went upstairs. Female got Shelly. Shelly came down. She walked, as Shelly's walking by me, she's like, don't say a fucking word. Like pretty gangster. It was like kind of like,
because we've been through it before and I cooperated and they said they were not going to come for me. If I cooperate, they're going to coordinate with my attorney and let me know that there's information on me. And they did not. And that was a broken promise that will never be healed. I will never cooperate again. I'll never say another word. Even though I know I'm innocent, I'll never cooperate because you build a case against yourself. Yeah,
without the attorney present, for sure. It probably had a lot to do, honestly, because when they originally came with like everybody else, they were trying to pre-indict, where they were trying to get us all to cop to, except for you. They were trying us all to take a plea deal without a grand jury, without getting indicted. And I turned down my plea deal at the end. I had gone, I was going through everything. I'd spent all their money. They'd flew me down to Savannah, basically wined me and dined me. They put me in a really nice hotel.
But you cooperated.
I know.
You didn't tell them anything that no one else did.
Well, the problem was I wouldn't sign the plea deal though. And I backed out of the plea deal.
The plea deal was crazy to us at the time.
Because they offered me a plea deal that capped my sentence at 60 months. And in my mind, I was like, 16 months probation. I can do that all day long. And when they're like, no, you're going to prison, Dan. And my attorney, Dennis, is like, well, you're going to have to do some prison time, Dan. I'm like, well, what the fuck do you mean I got to go to prison? I can't do prison. I was like, I'm not going to prison. We got to get something better than this. So I eventually backed out of my plea deal and fired my federally appointed attorney, Dennis. And I went and hired a private attorney, this guy, Robert. I think his name is Rob.
Yeah,
Rob Nye.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Worked with me. I had to come up with quite a bit of money to hire him. And, he didn't promise me anything, but he said, if no one else has taken a plea yet, he goes, it might be a little premature to take a plea deal. So that's what I wanted to hear at that point. So turned down the plea deal. And then we didn't hear anything for like a good year and a half. Cause it was like we came back. It was right after we came back when they tried to get me to plea, and they didn't indict us until 13. So all this time went by, and I'm pretty sure that I really irked them. And when I didn't take the plea deal, after I spent all that time going back and forth and proffering and all these things, I think them coming after you might have been a little bit of a retaliation.
I also believe that.
Yeah. Because when they came and got us that morning in 2013, when they came and got us at the townhouse, they got us, remember they handcuffed us and they put us in the Suburbans. They put us in the Suburban together. Remember they were joking about who they arrested first? Because remember that same morning they were getting Sean and Frankie.
You didn't get Adele yet. Adele was at work. They went to her house and her fiance was there, and freaked him and her parents out, and they alerted Adele. So Adele was going down the elevator, and they caught Adele in the elevator at her work.
Yeah, it was pretty dirty. And I in the car, while we were in the car, they radioed. I don't know if they radioed or called. I don't even know if feds you. I think they just were using their fucking Metro PCS shitty cell phones they had. They're like, "Did you get your guys yet?" And everybody was like, "No." They're like, "I guess you're got to buy breakfast." Like it was a bet. And then the weird thing was they were like, "Well, Shelly, it looks like they have no problem with you bonding out, but Dan, they're denying bond because they're saying you're a flight risk, you've been on the run, and you're a danger to society." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I've been at the how do you flight risk on the run?" Literally, they sent me a check because when I flew to Savannah for the proffer, they paid for me to do that, but I had to pay out of my own pocket and then they reimbursed me. So when I went there to proffer, they said, "What address?" I had to give them my address and all this stuff to the townhouse in West Palm. So they knew exactly where I lived. The problem was when I got there, they wouldn't let me call my attorney before we were going to go see the judge for the bond hearing. So they gave me a public defender at that point, and I told the public defender the story. And I don't really think the public defender believed me, which I don't blame them. They people, criminals lie every day. So when I told them, I was like, they knew where I wasn't on the run, and I was begging him to call my attorney. And he tried to call Rob. He did. He got a hold of Rob, and he says, "Yeah, your attorney corroborated what you said." He goes, "The problem is we don't have any of that evidence to prove. So if we go in front of the judge today for a bond hearing, it's very likely that they're going to deny your bond hearing. And if you get denied your bond hearing, you're done. You're done until the case is rectified," which was a whole year went by. So I would have had to sit there for a year. So the attorney said, he goes, "The best thing we could do is ask to continue your bond hearing. And it's going to take a week and a half to 2 weeks. And by then we can get all the documentation to verify what you said." And so I had to go sit in Gun Club County Jail for, I don't know, it was like 10, 14 days, something like that. And I remember when I finally did go to my bond hearing, it was the same day. A lot of those guys over there. And remember, what was it where all those, the big drug ring that was going on. And
yeah, I was just going to say, I went to prison with TT. I saw TT in county.
We don't know TT or ATT, but we met her during that experience in the county jail. And it was just like really, really bad area of Palm Beach where there's this big drug ring. And that same day they were doing the bond hearings, they were doing all of theirs. And I think I was like 40th to go for a bond hearing, sitting in court with like 40 other people. I was towards the end because they go by last name. Entire life, even in school, I was always called last. But everybody was denied. I was so sure I was going to get denied bond. And not only did I get granted bond, the attorney, he scolded. The government flew down there. Doug Kahn and Carl Kanoki flew there to be at my bond hearing to try to get them to deny me and keep me in there. And when the evidence was proven that they did know where I was, that I wasn't a flight risk and I wasn't on the run, the attorney kind of ripped them a new one. Shit like that should be so illegal. So illegal. That was such a rough.
Would you like to get back on track of this self-surrender of Shelly Morford?
God. Man. McShaky's in the room. Tear Talk in the room. McShaky, guys, if you didn't see the interview yesterday, McShaky is getting ready to turn himself in the end of this month for 70 months.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where at?
I forgot. He told me. McShaky, feel free to share where you're going. But yeah, we did an awesome interview with him yesterday. And Tear Talk is in the room. Oh, McShaky, $5 donation. Guys, every little donation helps because we need more vodka. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
The donations, we use the donations. We donate it to, we have not just our clients, but we have a whole list of people that hygiene products, phone calls, you name it, just basic stuff that people are going through, struggling, that don't have loved ones or finances on the outside. He's going to Oakdale.
Where's Oakdale? California?
Yes. But yeah, so back to Shelly self-surrender. Man, reliving that is nasty.
So self-surrender. So I got to the facility at about 1:58. I was supposed to be there at 2. There was another girl that was supposed to surrender.
Slide over is what I'm trying to tell you to do.
I don't know. I thought you were dancing.
Can't give this girl vodka.
Anyway, am I good?
You're good.
Okay, so there's another girl that's supposed to be there at 2 with me, and she didn't show up. So they're waiting for her, and I'm just sitting there waiting with this officer, and I'm buzzed. I'm like, so should I call you officer? Or should I call you ma'am? Or I'm just trying to make small talk because I'm buzzed and I'm awkwardly, I don't know what to do. So girl never shows up. They take me in there. They do the fingerprints. I've never been fingerprinted before. They do that. They do it digitally, and then they did it with the ink. So I did that. Then I had to strip my clothes off, and I've never in my life had to do that. And they told me cough, and
But before that happened, knowing you were going there, was that a fear you had? Like, did you
I
wonder?
knew it was going to happen. I didn't know the order or how it was going to go down, but I knew it happened because they got to make sure you're not bringing stuff in. It was awful, but it was just as awkward for me as it is for them. Just like when I worked at the pain clinic and people had to pee in a cup and I had to stand there. That's awkward too. So I just was like, get through it. It wasn't too bad, but I never did visitation on my bid. So I never did visitation, but I know when you go on visitation, you got to do it every time. And I'm glad I never did. Anyway, so I did that. After you do all that, they interview you. You see your, not the case manager, case
Unit manager?
unit manager. You see your unit manager, and he asked me questions like if I feel like I'm in danger, whatever. So you do that. Then you go see the psychologist, and they ask you if you feel like you're going to kill yourself. Then you go see the doctor. And then,
Did they ask you anything about your co-defendants? Because
not yet.
Two of our friends were with you.
So 5 weeks later, Adele and Candace got there, and right the day they got there, when they were in R&D and they just walked in the door, I got called to R&D from lawn. I mowed the lawn. So I got called to the office. So I got in the office and I got interviewed, and the unit manager asked me, do I feel like I'm in danger? Am I scared of them? And I was like, no. And so they let him in. And when I saw Adele and Candace, oh my God, it was like a reunion. Like, I already knew the ropes and I knew a few people, so I felt cool because I'm not ever cool. And it was just nice. It was a government paid for camp that gave me friends. It was bullshit. It was a waste of taxpayer money and a waste of time, but I enjoyed my time there.
So what was your first week like? Like, kind of getting into the scenario of like commissary, finding a job, all of that.
My first day there, I'm laying on, so there's a bunk bed and there's a little slat. It's a metal bed with like I wouldn't even call it feathers. It's like pillowy shit stuffing, and you lay on it and it's supposed to be a bed. My back hurt so bad. It was awful. And I'm just looking at these white brick walls, these cinder block white walls. And I'm like, this is where I'm going to be for the next 13 months. And it was sobering. So anytime I heard my name called, like in the first 3 days, they call your name a lot because you got to go get your clothes. You got to get your boots. You got to get your ID. So they call me like, I'd say about 6 hours later. And I went to R&D and they gave me my ID. When they called me, I was like, okay, they know that I'm not a risk. They're letting me go. No, they gave me my ID. The next day they call me and I'm like, okay, I'm going home. No, I had to go get my boots for work. It just,
why did you keep thinking they were going to send you home?
Every single person that goes to a camp has never been in trouble before, and they all think they're going home because I've never done anything wrong. I don't do meth. I don't rob people. I'm a good girl.
Yeah, it was such a. I remember because before I went in, while you were in, I flew to was it South Carolinas with Evan for Dr. Smith to go look at the facility. And I remember your mom called me at dinner, and she's like, Daniel, probation is called. They want to come check the house to make sure it's, because Shelly had changed her address to Washington State, where she was going to release to be near family and friends until I came home. And her mom was like, I think they might be sending her home now. And I had no idea either. I didn't know anything at this point. So I was like, oh man, I'm getting all excited and this and that. And then we find out they do that for everybody. About a year before you release, they start doing home checks to make sure your home is where you're really going to be released to for paperwork. So continue on you're just kind of talking about like
my first day, self-surrendering.
Not just your first day, but going into like working, getting a job.
Well, I just want to say this real quick. When you self-surrender, your first night there, everyone's nice and they'll give you what you need. But if there's no extra sweats, they're not going to give them to you. Oh my God. The most important thing, make sure you have money to buy sweats. It is so flipping cold in there. Oh, I was shivering. I had a pillow on top of me. I was so cold. It's so freezing. They gave you this long green oversized nightgown that hangs down to your ankles. It's just one big long t-shirt.
Sounds like Handmaid's Tale kind of a thing, but green.
It's like that. It was so cold. Anyway, yes.
Well, you're cold even here in South Florida.
Yeah, it
She
was,
can't wait for wintertime to come in South Florida, but as soon as fall gets here, she's gonna be freezing her butts off.
I have one butt.
Butt
Sir.
off, butt cheeks off. So went through get through the intake, and who was your first friend you made in there before Dell and Candace came?
Stephanie and Tiffany. Two girls from, I think Stephanie was from, I want to say Pembroke Pines, maybe. And then Tiffany was from more Hollandale, I think, Miami area. Two black girls. And so I was in with the black girls because that was my bunkie and those were my friends. And they were so nice to me and just gave me everything I needed. And everything you think, like, oh, it's going to be race wars or crazy prison in a camp, it's not. Even in a low, it's not,
Right.
from what you tell me. It's so silly. They were so nice and so kind. And just everyone in there is like, we don't want to be here. We can't wait to go home to our family. Everyone in there had kids. I didn't, but everyone just wants to talk about their kids and how they miss them.
What was the process like for you, and how long did it take you to like get a job and go into chow and stuff? You just kind of, was it weird? Like you got to get up at a certain time. This is when you got to go do this. Did it take you a little while to figure out the routine?
It did, because I didn't get a job for like, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks. Christy King was walking by my bunk and her bunkie was leaving and she's scouting out somebody that's quiet that she'll get along with, that kind of is like to themselves and won't cause a ruckus. And she scouted me out, I think. No, I know. And so I bunked with her and they got me the job in landscaping because she worked in facilities, and it was a wrap from there. And then I met Shitterman and it was just a fucking fun time. It was awesome.
So landscaping. So Coleman Federal Prison, for those that don't know, it's in Ocala. Well, it's in Coleman, Florida. It's right on the outskirts of Ocala. It's the largest Bureau of Prison facility that exists. It's got 2 penitentiaries, a medium, a low, a camp. At that point, it was a female camp. Now it's a men's camp. So women are the only campers there. Everybody else is closed custody where they're behind a fence. So you guys did the landscaping for the entire prison. And also when the penitentiaries would go on shutdown and things like that. So
That was the
tell
worst.
us a little bit about like what you guys do there, which is different than most people in prison.
Oh my goodness, we're free labor. So obviously we cut the grass. We ride around on Dixie choppers, cutting grass all day like go-karts, but it's huge compound. So we just fucked around all day basically and cut grass. But when the pens went on lockdown, I don't remember if it was I think it was every night around mail call. I want to say, I could be wrong. They posted a list of who had to go to the pen the next day. Oh my God, if your name was on the list, you were hating life.
But
you're eating good because you can eat all the food and you can make whatever you want.
Because you had to prepare their food, right?
Yeah, and they're assholes there.
Who's assholes?
Ooh, the prisoners. They'll send their food back with shit in it. They'll send their food back, fuck you, cunt. They say nasty, gross.
Did they know the women were the ones that were reviewing it?
Yeah.
Man.
Anytime they go on lockdown, they know the camp comes. And they can sometimes they'll walk by when they're going to medical with the guard. It's very bleak. Oh, a pen. Oh, the chow hall is so bleak. I can't even tell you how awful it is. On the wall, there's paintings the inmates did of companies that will hire felons when you get out. And I know their crimes are so bad. And it was just so like, this is what they go to every day. And this is what they look at. And the courtyard was one basketball court, tiny, with one hoop. You can only see the sky. You can't see anything else.
It's surrounded by like a big giant concrete wall.
It's windows and walls, like this big of windows.
Okay.
Like tiny windows.
And they're probably all dirty and scratched up and you can't even see out of them.
They're like plexiglass with that safety wire.
Yeah.
And it's only like a couple people at a time. It's not like when I was there doing the meals, it was nobody could go out there, but it was only a few people at a time when I was there.
Shelly, Scott is wait, I think it's Scott. Let me see here. Scott was asking, what is your funniest day in prison? Do you have a funniest day? I know you guys had a lot of fun days, but is there anything you can think out that sticks out?
Yeah. So every few years they do this ACA check. It's where they come in, they make sure your prison is on the up and up. It's the federal thing. You know what I'm going.
I totally know where you're going with this.
So
because I saw it from where I was.
We had to weld the stairs on the bunk beds. No one used stairs. We climbed on the locker and then we got on the bed. So we had to weld the stairs on for safety, scrub the showers. Everyone had to make sure everything's looking nice. We had to go mow the lawns. So I'm over there. ACA comes. They're like, you guys stay out of sight. Go mow off the campus because they're doing the camp today. So we go mow Pen 1. So we're mowing. And there's a guard tower, and they're armed guard towers. So they have guns, and it's scary when you go there, but they know us because we go mow there once a week. So I'm mowing around the little retention pond, and I'm just having fun because the grass is like this big and my mower's getting in, and I'm just getting in.
These are like legit mowers. You guys are like on these big zero turn.
Yeah.
How
like
fast do they go?
Oh God, they don't go that fast. I don't know speed, but I would guesstimate
10 miles an hour.
15,
That's fast
maybe.
for a fucking lawnmower.
Maybe not even that fast. So I'm going. Holy shit, I get stuck. So I try to reverse, and nope, mud spinning. I try to reverse again. Oh my God, my lawnmower caught on fire and my gloves are burning. I'm trying to get out. The guard tower locks down the pin and he does this alarm and the guns are out because they don't know what's going on. They think I'm causing a diversion. It was fucking so scary and funny. And then Mr. Van comes to get us and he's like, oh my God, you guys, we're supposed to be the best prison, and you guys just started a fire, and it was my fault, and it was hilarious. And you saw the fire, and that it was smoke signals.
Yeah, I was walking the track. Well, we were all out. It was rec time for us, and and so Shelly was. How many inmates did you guys have at the camp?
Between 500 and 700.
And
we rarely had 700.
And where we were at the low, we had between like 2,500 and 3,000, and we're all out at rec at the same time. We're walking the rec, and I see smoke. And first thing I thought of is because for those of you that don't know, it might sound crazy, but they have different religions. They have
Yes.
So we had like for the Indians had their own. They had a teepee, a sweat lodge. They'd go in there and like they'd light wood on fire and create smoke. So I thought they were doing something like that, but this fire seemed a little out of control and ridiculous. And all of a sudden,
very black.
All of a sudden, the staff from the low, the guards start running out in the yard. They're blowing whistles, flagging us all to come in. Nobody knows what's going on. We hear alarms going off the penitentiary.
You did not.
Yes, we did.
Really? You could hear that at the low?
We hear the concussion grenades go off every day. It's right next to us.
We hear them working out of the medium. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Right. So we hear all this commotion going on, and we have no idea what's going on. We all thought it was some kind of a diversion too. And never in a million years would I have thought my fucking girlfriend caused a fire over at the camp. So was that was your funniest day?
Got it out of my nose. Yeah, today's pretty funny, but yeah.
What were the other inmates saying to you back in the dorm? Were they like happy because everybody got to quit their job?
Nobody knew what was going on except landscape. Yeah, the only people that knew was the male prisons that had to get not shut down, but like extra security for a minute. Yeah. Nobody else knew. I mean, they even shut down the low. Whenever there was any kind of a shutdown, the low, for some reason, I guess because we're technically, we're not out custody. Yeah. A lot of sex offenders at the low, so they shut it down. Now that was the ACA, right? It was at the people that are checking it.
Yeah. So every year they have to come around and do these inspections on the prison.
No, it's like every 3 years.
Or every 3 years?
Yeah.
They make sure everything is like up to code, up to spec, everything's taken care of, healthy. The thing is there's supposed to be surprise inspections, and they're supposed to randomly come in to check things. These prisons are given so much notice of when they know what time, what day these people are going to come there.
Make sure you guys get your funding.
Yeah, it's to continue funding. So it's such bullshit, because imagine if you always knew when your supervisor or somebody, or like if you're on probation, imagine if you always knew like 5 days ahead of time, the time and day your probation officer was going to check you. Or if you have a drug case and you're on, they call it a color line on probation, where like if you get randomly drug tested.
That was worse than prison.
Every single morning you got to call this phone number. It's called the color line. And when you call this phone number, it's an automated voice. And it's today's color is, like my color was, I think it was brown 2. Your today is brown 2. If they say brown 2, you got to go in that day and you got to get drug tested. Imagine if they did that in the prison systems, when they're supposed to come in and do their checks. Imagine if it was just like, hey, we're going to be down there today. They would get to see the prisons for what they really are.
They didn't want to.
Of course, because
they're all in cahoots.
Yep. So that was so that was a pretty crazy day. So you're doing lawn maintenance. What was for you? What was food like? Because you're very like you hate burps, you hate farts, you hate anything.
Oh,
What was that like living with a bunch of people who were just like like flagellants and all that stuff going off the?
oh, it was awful. So there was an old lady next to me. She got sentenced to life. She did a used car lot scam with her husband. And she was every day she was in the legal library, trying to do the law, trying to figure out how she's going to get out. And I don't know. She always ate stuff off the commissary. She never went to food or chow. We didn't call it chow. We called it main line. She always was eating shit off commissary, like the grossest shit. And every night she's farting right up my wall, and I'm on the top bunk now. And Chris can't be like, my God. And I'm like, it's not me. It was so rancid. And she's like this big. Oh, awful. I wanted to die a lot of times. And it's scary because there's no curtains on the window, and it's Central Florida, and there's wild boar hogs everywhere. It was just freaky.
Yeah,
I always thought about aliens and ghosts.
people were really gross. Hey, Scott Attic in the room, one of our clients. Sean Cowgill, Federal Prison Talk,
Oh.
guys.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, Shelly, you know Scott.
Yeah.
I forget Shelly knows everybody. For those of you that
Yeah.
don't know, honestly, as everybody knows, I'm a federal prison consultant, probably the best in the country. But I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for Shelly. Shelly really is kind of like, she doesn't like to get on camera. She doesn't like to get on the
When you
phone.
guys email, I'm the one that says, Dan, email him back.
Yeah. Shelly's harping on me to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to keep everybody doing what they need to do. But Shelly is definitely a major driving force for the company. So a big shout out to Shelly. Cheers again to you, babe.
Thank you.
Look at our.
Are you gonna cry?
No, I'm giving credit over here to our guy over here. He's pulling up. I'm watching him. This is what you're.
Very good.
This is your second time doing this with us, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we had another guy doing them, and he was fine. He's got COVID, so we couldn't have him doing it. But you're killing it, brother. So thank you very much for hanging out with us. He's 20 years old. He's Christian. He's never been in trouble before. So right now, he's probably feeling like he needs to call the cops because he thinks, hide your wallet before you leave, Garrett. Yeah, I'm just reading some notes here, some questions. So tell us some more about your prison experience, Shelly.
So
How does it differ from what you feel for like men's camps versus female camps? Not that you've been to a men's camp, but we've had a lot of clients that have.
So the difference is, for me at a camp, everything in the BOP moves at a turtle pace. It doesn't matter where you're at. But at a camp, you kind of have a little more personal touch. Like you get to know your.
Oh, 1 second. I apologize, Scott. We have another Scott with a very, very similar last names. This is not our client, Scott. This is just one of our avid followers.
Oh, thank you. So you're more intimately connected, I'd say.
Intimate.
Not intimately like sexual, even though some people are. I was at Coleman. I mean, come on. But it's easier to get things done, or at least build a relationship and trust the staff, and they make you feel like they're getting things done. Where you're at, it's so many people, you're waiting in line, you're probably like one of thousands of people on their list. It sucked. I got to drive a truck around the camp. I got to collect garbage.
Like a real truck, like a gas truck?
Ford F-150.
That's so weird.
Yeah, we used to
to
drive
hear
one.
that, it just blows my mind.
And you know what? We would so I'd work 7:30 to 2:30, and anyone that's been at a camp, any woman, maybe men too, but women I can relate to more. They know what it's like. You just fuck around all day. You go fuck around, and there's a facility over by where they keep the ammo. I forgot what it's called. I forgot what they call it.
That training center they have over there?
No, the training center is where they shoot, but it's an artillery where they keep all the ammunition.
Okay.
I forget what it's called, but there's a laundry washer and dryer. So whoever works there has access to washer and dryer, and they'll charge you to take your laundry and go wash it.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't you would go to what was that big house that was on the compound? It was like
there was a couple of them. The haunted house that we would decorate for the staff. Then there's the one that people would come stay in that were paving the roads. Like other inmates from other facilities would come stay, and we had to go fix it up and clean it so they could come stay there while they paved the roads. There was a lot of houses. And then there was a lot of people like right outside. We could go outside of the fence as long as what do you call it? A guard was with us. Our
COs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The CO was with us. We could mow on the outside of the fence. And we did that often. Mondays and Fridays, especially, we'd mow outside the fence, and you're mowing people's property is right there. They had horses, they had dogs. The dogs would come bark you, and we'd be like, "Oh, hi, dogs."
Could you pet them?
No, we couldn't get off our mowers, but we wanted to.
Was there what was I going to ask you? My mind just escaped. The question just escaped.
There was girls that would go in the bushes and have affairs.
Really? With who?
Each other.
Oh, okay. Willing participants.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there, so obviously a lot of women that go to prison are very afraid of, because a lot of the men or a lot of the staff are men. I know, was there any incidents there that ever took place while you were there that you can remember where it was like whether it was rape or whether it was just,
it's always rape in prison.
I know it's classified as rape, but I mean, I'm talking about,
it's never been real rape.
But talking about the men, was there a lot of guards that would make the proposition to the female inmates?
All the time. Very subliminally, like very subtle.
Like how?
We're in landscaping and there's 3 offices, and the one guy has a computer, and somebody wants to show the one guy her Facebook because we haven't been on the computer in years. So he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'll pull it up," and he'll pull up the Facebook, and she'll come sit on his lap and pull up her Facebook and go on it. And it's just they get you in. Oh, some people bring you Victoria's Secret panties, whatever stupid shit. We'd find red panties hanging in the shower. Like, who wants to wear a red thong in prison? And who wants to do it with the guards? Ugh.
But it happened often?
Oh, very.
Really?
Yeah. And not only that, it wasn't just the guards. When people would have their friends or family come visit on the weekends, they would have them do drops. And if you're in landscaping, you're the ones that can go outside. So you pick up the drops and you get paid for it and you bring them back. And it could be food, drugs, alcohol, panties, makeup. A lot of people had makeup. Like, where'd you get makeup? But everyone is going to visitation with their eyes done, their eyebrows done, their nails done.
And the staff would never be like,
never.
Really? So interesting. And
just like that guy yesterday, how you said he turned a blind eye, the staff turned a blind eye. They all do.
She's talking about the interview I did with MC Shaky. I keep saying Mick Shaky. I apologize. He corrected me yesterday. MC Shaky.
Yeah.
Check out his YouTube channel. He was talking about when he was getting raped in prison. He started his time at a state prison. He had a 9-year bid, and part of it was state, part of it was in the feds. When he was in the state, he basically was just, rape was forced on him by other inmates to the point where one inmate claimed him, and he was the inmate referred to him as his hoe, and the inmate was his husband. And when guards would come by, the guards would say, the husband would say, "Hey, CO, look what I can make my hoe do." And he'd make MC Shaky like get up and like dance for the officer, and the guard would just laugh and walk away.
Yeah, it wasn't that intense,
right?
Awful, but it was
guard. That was the kind of mentality.
Same mentality. They were going to level up to that eventually, I assume.
Now, I will tell you, not all COs are like this.
No.
Tier Talk, Anthony Ganji. I don't know if you're checking this video out, if you're here, but Tier Talk has got a great YouTube channel. Anthony Ganji, who is he works in corrections. He's in the upper echelon side of collections. He's been doing it a long time, and he advocates for correction safety, but he also he's been, especially since him and I have conversed several times, he's very open to looking at it from both perspectives, and knows. He's actually came on my channel when we had that CO that came on that was talking all kinds of trash. Anthony came on and got on and kind of, verbally beat him up. So not all correctional officers are bad guys. A lot of them are misguided, misled, mistaught. And there are a lot of inmates, especially in the men where I was, like when they would do count time. Remember count time, everybody stand up for this count time. They'd come around and do count time. And when the COs, it would be two COs that would have to do the count. So let's say you have like we'll just call it aisle 1 and aisle 2 to make it easy. Aisle 1, aisle 2, CO1 would count aisle 1, CO2 would count aisle 2. Then they'd switch and they'd do the count, and they had to come up with the same count in order to be able to say, all right, open the dorms.
Now we can go to lunch.
Now we can go to lunch or go to bed or whatever it was. But some of the inmates would want to give these guys a fucking hard time. So when the COs would come by, you'd have inmates burping in their face, farting, doing like.
Yes, the lady across from me did that. That's disgusting.
And the CO can't say anything, because if they're like, hey, well, I'm sorry, it's a bodily function. I can't control. They would clearly, we know what they're doing, but then we wonder why they retaliate against us.
So disrespectful. Like when you go through visitation, the older ladies that they didn't even have that much time. They were just old and gross. They would take a dump. Like when you go in the bathroom and you got a strip search, they'd take a dump. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. And the CO had to stand there. That is so, no wonder they're so pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's it doesn't make it right that some of the COs abuse some of their power, but you've got a lot of, it's really messed up from both sides, and trying to find that middle ground. I always got along more or less with when I say got along, I wasn't that inmate that would like go hang out in the CO's office or like buddy up with the CO, but I always gave them respect. I did get messed with a couple times, but I'm in their territory. So what am I going to do? Buck up and what? Get in more trouble? I'm in RDAP, for God's sake. I'm trying to get in and get out. But so you went through that. I want to ask Garrett a question over here, our sound guy. Garrett, you've never been in any kind of trouble before, right?
Not legally, no.
Not legally. So hearing all of this, if I told you, put the camera on you, Garrett. Is the camera? Oh, it is on you. There it is. So if I told you today, if you got in trouble for something and you found out you might have to go to prison, what would you imagine prison being like? Not you've never heard any of us talk right now.
I'd imagine a lot of concrete. That's all I really think about. Maybe like just bullies, for lack of a better term, but yeah, that's what I would just
kind of like a bleak,
yeah,
not would it sound like any of what we're explaining today?
Probably, yeah. That'd be my first inkling of just like what you said about the concrete windows and stuff and all that stuff.
No curtains.
That was at the penitentiary where she would go do work, but that's
at the camp too.
Right, but we were wide open.
No, we're talking about when you're inside though, like at nighttime.
Right. But you wouldn't imagine it being somewhere like I don't know. It's I feel like people that have never been, and when they're getting ready to go, their fear of is so much more intense than what the reality of what it really is.
They probably watch 60 Days In like those pods where you're in a pod and it's crazy. I can only say my experience was good because my sentence was so short. I cannot imagine doing 5 years there like my bunkie or like a lot of people or even more. That sounds miserable. It's Groundhog Day every damn day. The best thing about it was I've never read so many books. I've never felt, when I got out of prison, I had been sober for almost a year now. I felt very intelligent. My vocabulary was very good. It's not anymore because I haven't read books like that since, because I haven't had the time. I had to work. I have to pay my bills. It's a different world. Like there, I could read books. I could educate myself. I could work out and just go to work and cut the lawn and cut up with my friends. In the real world, you got to make your own way. You have to delegate your time, not delegate, but like you have to manage your time, and there's not enough time in the day to do that. You can't work out 3 hours a day. You can't read a book for 5 hours a day. You don't have to go to lunch and menu is already planned for you. You got to figure out what you're going to eat for dinner. It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a different lifestyle for sure. But I would say by no stretch of the means, I think you have a very good vocabulary.
Oh, thank you.
So what was it like? Yeah, as you got closer and closer to your release date, how did that feel?
Oh my gosh, the go home high. Everyone calls it the go home. How many days in a wake up?
How many days in a wake up? I actually told MC Shaky about your actual release, what they did for you.
Oh my goodness, the best.
Let's talk about the release day.
I think I had the best release of anybody ever, but I can't speak for everybody. But my landscape crew, the Lawn Ninjas, I'm going out of Coleman. No one could pick me up. They wouldn't let me because my family lived too far and I had to fly to Washington. So they had to drive me to MCO to Orlando. I was leaving the compound. Oh my God. Most people get out at 8:00. Tell me why I got out at 2:00. It was awful. I was waiting all damn day. I even ate lunch there. I get out finally. Me and a girl are driving to the airport. They gave her a little satellite phone in a suitcase to bring with us. And she's driving me in a little, I think it was an Impala or a Malibu. She drove me to MCO airport, and my lawn crew got the leaf blowers and all of the lawn stuff. And as soon as I'm going out in the Malibu, they're shooting leaves and stuff over, and I'm going under it. Like
She's
I'm
so
getting
excited
married.
she forgets there's a microphone in front of her.
Oh, I love it. Sorry. I'm just so excited. It was so fun. I forget I got to stay like this.
I remember as you were getting, because obviously you got released before me. I remember I had my little calendar book and I was marking your days down until
Oh,
Shelly
I
had to
still
go
have
home.
it. I wish I brought it. I have my little frame at home. Every day I marked it off. Oh,
Feels like so long ago.
feels
right?
like it took forever, and I cannot believe it's been 8 years ago. Everyone feels like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
8 years.
Wait till you get on the other side, and now it's the other side.
Now it's on the other side. You had what, 1 year of probation?
Yes.
Supervised release, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. And it was worse than anything. It sucked.
You had Melissa something out of Spokane.
Yes.
I mean, but
She wasn't bad. Just the probation sucks. Every single day, you have a full-time job, and I'm a manager of a store, and I don't want to tell them that I am a felon that just got out of jail because I'm trying to manage people, and they'll judge me. They won't respect me. And I'm like, okay, I gotta get out of here by 5 because the place closes at 6, and it's a 30-minute drive to go take a piss in a cup. And I can't tell. It is. And I'm like, okay, guys, wrap it up. I'm trying to do anything I can to lie. I'm like, oh, I got an appointment for anything. It was awful. And then I have to be home when she stops by my house. I got to be home. I wasn't breaking the law. I wasn't doing anything bad. It was just coordinating my schedule.
Yeah, she was on you pretty good.
Yeah.
A couple questions here. Sean. So Anthony from Tier Talk asked Sean if he would come on his show, but Sean is scared. So Sean, he treated me really, really well. Anthony is a really good guy. He's not one to kind of like bring you on and trick you and trip you up. He's very, very straight shooter. You can watch a couple of interviews I did with him. I think I did some on my channel, some on his channel. And then he also Sean asked, were we allowed to write each other while we were locked up? No. So if we were married,
Daniel's.
Yeah, let me tell him.
Oh, okay, I will.
Thanks, babe.
Okay.
If you're married, yes, they can't say no. And so writing letters or email, so we had to put in a request. My case manager, Dr. Smith, and my case management team, they approved it on my side. Shelly's side denied it for whatever reason. So we couldn't physically write each other and we couldn't email each other through core links, but we found ways around it. I would write a letter and send it to like one of my friend Paul. I'd send it to one of my friends, my main friend Paul. I'd send a letter to him. He would then re-envelope it, put it into an envelope and send it to Shelly, vice versa. Or I'd send it like to her mom, then her mom would send it. It would just take way longer. But how fun was it getting mail?
Oh, it was so fun because you got a whole week's worth of letters on Wednesday. And Paul is a procrastinator and he did it every week.
Yeah, our friend Paul is one of those guys that like, it's like, hey, you want to get together? You want to go do something? And he's always like, yeah, last minute kind of guy, kind of like, not that he's super reliable, but with
Just
this,
like anybody, like
he didn't miss a beat. It was almost like
guaranteed Wednesday I got my mail.
I feel like when Paul got a letter, he was riddled with anxiety until he got it in the mailbox, sent it back out.
Just had mail and he just same day. It was awesome.
I would write a letter every single day through Monday through Sunday, every day, part of my routine. So in the morning, I would get up, go do my stuff, but my routine was always at night. It was always at the final count time before bed. So during count time, I would read I had a men's daily Bible. I would either read like whatever it was for January 1st. I'd read that January 1st. Then I had a Jesus Calling devotional. I would read a little chapter out of that. And then I would spend the rest of my night until I'd fall asleep about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'd lay in my bunk with my pad of paper and my little book light, and I'd write a letter. And usually I was writing a letter to Shelly. Sometimes I'd write the letter to dear future Dan. But most of the time I was writing a letter to Shelly, but I wouldn't send the letters out every day because that would get expensive with the mail. So every Sunday I would take all the letters, I would fold them all up together, and I'd make sure it was either 1 to 2 pages tops. So I would only need one stamp, and I'd put it in an envelope and send it home. And then she would get a whole week's worth of letters. So eventually it got in a routine where you're probably getting mail every week, right?
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we'd send pictures, in prison on commissary. At least in federal prison, I'm not sure how it works in state prison, but in federal prison, you can buy on commissary what's called picture tickets. And basically with your commissary, you'd get it's just basically, it looks like receipt paper with little lines in it. And you'd rip off one of the little sections it was $1 per picture. So Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, at least where I was, during certain times of the day, you'd go out to the rec yard, and they would do pictures. They'd have an inmate. His job was as a photographer, and it was actually a pretty decent camera. Actually, yeah. If you look, pull back up the big screen. If you see the pictures, I don't have any of my pictures up there, but both the pictures on the end were pictures Shelly took in prison. Those are picture tickets. So those are your clothes that you wore in prison, right? Those are your grays.
Yeah, the grays. The grays, you can only wear the grays on the rec yard. When you're working, you got to wear your greens or your class A.
What about during like non-treatment hours? You couldn't wear those out,
Treatment?
like non-working
yes, you
hours,
were
like
an RDAP.
like weekends and stuff. You couldn't wear those.
Weekends, you can wear those.
Anywhere, right?
Weekends, you can wear those. You just can't wear flip-flops on the yard.
But you could wear that to chow, right? On the weekends.
I believe so.
I can't remember either.
I can't remember.
But going back, what we were talking about, I'm just looking at these notes. I would take pictures. I would take pictures every week. And then it takes you a couple days. You take a picture today, you'd get the picture like next week. I would get the picture next week. I'd have to go to, I forgot where I'd go get it, or they'd send it to you. However you get your pictures. And they were nice pictures. They were done with like, I imagine like a Canon. They looked like a DSLR camera. So it was a decent camera. And I would take my pictures and I'd write something. I'd always write the date on it. And then I'd put it in the mail and send it to Shelly so she would get pictures of me. And that was fun, right? Getting pictures.
Yes. And a lot of times people would intercept the pictures at the camp, especially, and they wouldn't let the inmates have them because you can't send them to camp. You can't send them inmate pictures.
You always got mine though, I think.
Usually. And they weren't actual pictures. They were photocopies.
Oh, really?
My mom had to photocopy them.
Oh.
So it was a color copy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that. I would make the copies.
Oh, it was you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because we had copy machines.
Wow,
at
we
Coleman.
didn't.
We had this weird, it was part of, so you get an ID card. It's like your you had an ID card where it has your inmate number and stuff on it.
You got your Kinko's card?
It was like a Kinko's card. We'd go to it was in the library. We had a big machine and you put your card in there. And if you had money on it, that's how you did it. Thinking back, it doesn't even sound like prison.
I bet it's so different now too.
Oh, it's probably much more locked down now.
It's probably more like they didn't have video conference calls when we were there. You could never do a video call. That's so crazy to think for me.
So now jumping forward, because now it's been 8 years, we've whirled apart from that. A lot of people think when they get out of prison, life is never going to be the same. They're not going to be able to do anything. No one's ever going to hire them. So what do you do for a living now, Shelly? What do you do as a career?
So when I got out of prison, I fell back on my cosmetology career, and that really stabilized me. Now I just started a teeth whitening salon, and it's very brand new, so I can't talk much about it, but so much more opportunities because felons can't do a lot of things now, so you have to look outside the box, and you're forced to be an entrepreneur. You're forced to forge your own way, and it's good and bad, but mostly good.
Husker's asking, you wear shorts, not pants. That's just when you go out on the rec yard. You can buy, so those clothes that you're looking at, what Shelly's wearing in that screen in the background, those are clothes you buy on commissary. Those aren't clothes that they give to you, right?
You can only buy grays on commissary. You only get a brown shirt and green army pants.
Right. So you can buy like t-shirts, you can buy shorts, you can buy like better underwear, socks, things like this. Like extra.
They're not better. They're just different.
Well, different sweatshirts, all that kind of stuff. So, and when you go work out, because you can buy sneakers and whatnot on there as well. So this is like kind of what you'd wear to go work out. So you got out, you got back into cosmetology, and you went back to Washington because you're waiting, thought I was going to be a while. And when we found out I was getting out sooner, because I ultimately ended up only doing 13 months out of my 42 instead of like 2.5, 3 years, you were about ready to change your address to come back to Florida. And you were going to try to pack up everything.
Well, I truly wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if we were going to get back together because the Fed seized everything. We had no address, no cars. We had nothing in Florida. So
right.
What are we going to come home to?
Right. No, I'm talking about when I got towards my release date, when we knew I was coming back.
Yeah, but we didn't have an address.
I know. But I remember your mom. I was talking to your mom.
Goodness, yes.
And she's like, Daniel,
I can convince you.
Shelly is ready to pack up everything and move to Florida. And you guys don't have anything. You don't have any money.
My mom got you.
And I didn't even cross my mind of like, I'm like, well, okay, she's like, is there any way you can come to Washington? So I put in a change of address and went out to Washington, and man,
wasn't it cool though? You got to
It was. Yeah, I got to freeze.
Some snow.
It was great. But weird thing is when I got to the halfway house, and this is just what a gangster Shelly is. This is where this story is going. She's such an awesome girlfriend, person, my best friend. When I got to the halfway house, I had 11 months halfway house, and all the inmate stories you hear, the minute you get to the halfway house, as long as you have a job, they send you straight to home confinement. So I was thinking, because I had a job lined up, all these things, I'm thinking I'm going to go straight to home confinement. So I get to the halfway house and find out you can only go to home confinement for 10% of your sentence. I was sentenced to 42 months, which means I can only do 4 months of home confinement, but I was given 11 months of halfway house. So I had to serve 8 months in the halfway house before I could go to home confinement. And my halfway house was in a city called Spokane. Shelly was living in a city called Yakima, both in Washington. But how far apart are those
4
two?
hours.
4 hours. So 4 hours away. They weren't going to let me go there on the weekends. There was really no way for
But
Shelly.
they let me.
Two different halfway houses.
Yeah.
Right. There was no way for me to be able to go see her, for her to be able to come see me, unless she was going to like drive to the halfway house just to go sit and visit me at the halfway house like once a week, which is kind of rough. So Shelly figured it out. And before I even got out of the halfway house, she went and rented an apartment in Spokane. She was in the same city as me. She basically moved there and rented the apartment so I could go home on the weekends. I love you.
Aw,
You're awesome.
love you too.
So yeah, so there's that.
Told you to get some Kleenex.
Yeah, I know. I should have had it the other day too. But yeah, so that happened, and now here we are in 2022. We're in Florida.
There was no better feeling than being humbled by prison. Coming out of prison and living in that apartment, even though it wasn't shitty. It was okay. It was an apartment. It was one of the best times of my life. Pictures, we always share pictures and we have memories of that apartment.
Yeah, that was
And
it.
things we did there, like in Spokane, we explored things we never saw. It was awesome.
Well, for one, life was super simple at that point. Like prices hadn't shot through the roof yet. Apartments were cheap.
We didn't have bills out the
Cost
asshole.
of living was real easy. And if we hadn't gone to Spokane, or if I hadn't gone to Spokane, prison consulting probably never would have happened, because how much was our rent in Spokane? It was
$925.
$925.
It was $875. It went up.
So, under $1,000 for rent. Shelly had a little car. I didn't have a car yet at this point. I didn't have a license yet at this point. I was so, you want to talk about like not feeling like a man or a provider, like coming home from prison. I just had nothing but debt. My license was suspended. I think I owed somewhere in the neighborhood of it felt like at that point, it felt like $1 million. So it might have been like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, something like that I owed in order to get my driver's license back. And I just felt like I was never going to be able to do that. Started making little videos, posting them on YouTube, and kind of talking about my experience, and people asking questions, like people that are in here now, like Sean Cowgill and all these people that showed an interest in what you and I had gone through. I remember when I said, hey, Shelly, I think I'm going to quit my job. I had a job. I was making like $10 an hour working for this guy. I said, I think I'm going to quit my job and be a prison consultant. There was definitely a high level of you were very like, what the fuck? Like,
So I'm going to pay for everything?
yeah, basically Shelly's like, so you're going to go play on camera and I'm going to pay all the bills. And I remember, because we had started getting a couple of donations at this point. People were like donating money because we didn't have a fee structure. We didn't have a program structure at all. It was just,
No, it's just like they wanted, you're like, well, I got to work. I'll have to do this after work. So
Right.
I'm going to have to ask a couple $100 because it's going to take my time.
Yeah.
And they paid it gladly.
it was a
And
true side hustle. And
Yeah.
and there was just 1 month where I think we made like, it might have been like $5,000 that we made from just kind of like donations and
keep
stuff.
saying we, but it was you.
Well, okay, me at this point, but when I say we, because we were a unit, we were a team.
I understand.
And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, it felt really good. Not to me. I mean, it was nice to make some extra money because I was broke as broke could be, but it felt good that I was doing something that, I grew up in South Florida, call centers and everything's like
Shady hustle.
yeah, days are sunny, people are shady. It's just always like shaking and moving. And this was the first thing that I'd done in a long time that I felt like, man, I had a good vibe from it. I really felt like I was helping
Go to
people.
sleep at night feeling
Yeah,
good.
exhausted too.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to quit. And I'd spoken to a prison consultant, another guy out there in the industry, that I saw what he was doing. And I was like, man, I think I could do this. And I think I could do it for a fraction of the cost of what he's doing. And I just kind of I don't even know how I learned everything that we know. It
We
just
didn't. We're still learning.
it was a
There's
process.
still new programs coming in all
Yeah.
the time. Prison rules change. We have to change. Everything changes.
And then it took off, and we started bringing people on. We got a life coach, chemical dependency professionals, ex-attorneys. Shelly does anything administrative wise. A lot of the emails you guys get whenever contracts go out, when people have questions and emails. Sometimes I'm the one giving the answer, but it's usually Shelly. Like, Shelly, she's so great at it because almost every day the cool thing is
It's that nag in me.
it's that she knows how to nag like no other. When you try to bring somebody in to help, and anybody that's ever owned a company or been a manager or entrepreneur, when you try to find help and you tell somebody, all right, here's the role of things that you need to do. You got to micromanage. You're like, hey, you're dropping the ball. You're not doing, man, with Shelly, it's like,
because I understand the importance and the time sensitivity of the things that people need.
But you're just, I don't know if you're always responsible like you are now, but it's just such an.
What do you think? I've always been pretty responsible.
You've always been pretty responsible, and it's just now becoming more and more fine-tuned. And because of your responsibilities, now taking us to where we are now. My success is, of course, I breed like the energy and go out there and do these things. Let's get a podcast. Let's do this. But without you, I would be out there.
Just reel it in sometimes.
Reel it in. Shelly reels it in when it needs to reel in. But now what do you do now?
I just started a teeth whitening studio downstairs, actually.
So she took over a space. There's a business downstairs. So the building we're in, where I rent the whole top floor of this building.
I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it just worked out perfect.
So we have the top floor. We have about 1,000 square foot where we have a studio and an office and whatnot. And then there was a guy that had a company downstairs, a teeth whitening business. And he got it for his girlfriend originally, and things kind of didn't really work out. And he's a firefighter, and he's really busy with that. And we saw that he wasn't here that often, and started talking to him and kind of worked something out, and bought the business from him. And now Shelly's got this like badass teeth whitening business, and we're doing. Yeah, check those teeth out. Yeah, she whitened them.
They're freaking on. My gums are on fire because I did it more than I should have.
And we're in a great location. We're in Melbourne. There's really not a lot of other people that are doing what we do. So it's
Melbourne's great.
And you're such a hard worker, But we do this for a reason, because working the 9 to 5, you're really a slave to time.
You get bitter, and first complacent, then bitter, then just burnt out, and you just depressed. You got to do something that you like. You don't have to like it every day, but you have to like it.
Right.
And you have to like the people you're around. If you don't like the people you're around, why do it?
And people don't always see where you've been to get to where you're going. Like you don't always put in our dues.
When you're going someplace, you go somewhere and you're like, oh, I don't like it here, and you go somewhere else.
Yep. Well, that's why
it's a constant journey. That's life.
We have a whole separate podcast that we do. That's kind of one of the reasons why we got the studio, and it's like an entrepreneurs channel where we bring in local business owners, entrepreneurs, and it's called Entrepreneur Roadmap.
Failure to launch.
Yes, failure to launch. Basically, what it is anybody that's made it in life, entrepreneurs, anybody of any type of level of success, whether it's defined by money or defined by where your mindset is. Almost always there's been multiple failures before people have gotten to where they want to go. But once you start to learn to not identify that as a failure, and you identify that as a lesson, like the first time you get up and try to do something, it's really hard. Whether it be you want to go work out, it's really hard. But once you get a routine down, like we were watching yesterday, we were just happy. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings having lunch, and got the NFL pregame stuff going on, and you see them in training, and they're practicing their plays and stuff, making it look seamlessly. You see those guys get up like, oh, they get paid millions of dollars to throw a football around. No, these guys, but all these plays they got to memorize and practice over and over again to execute it perfectly. And they have to identify their mistakes, go watch the tapes. And you and I have had the ability to fuck up and fail, but we watch the tapes and we get back up, and we could go get a job tomorrow and do something.
That's everyone.
But but not everyone pushes through.
Some people don't watch the replays.
There you go. Watch the replay.
Hey, do you ever watch the Chappelle Show where the guy has a thing that says "wrap it up"?
How long we been going, Garrett? It should be on. Okay, yeah, and you got somewhere to be, right? You
I gotta order one of those on Amazon.
Christian Mingles,
Does
right?
anyone want to give me one
Christian
on Amazon?
Bible study.
Christian Bible study.
Christian Mingle.
All right, guys. Well, I've been told to wrap it up, but this was fun.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, guys. So everybody, big thank you to Shelly for not just coming on here today, but for all these
I
clients.
put on makeup and everything.
All these clients that we've been able to help over the last several years, guys. Shelly's been the big driving force behind it, aside myself, of course, but Shelly's been right there.
Daniel's got the knowledge and experience, and I got I'll keep you on track, and I make sure stuff gets done, and I won't leave you in the weeds.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting, people up and people, communities method, one day at a time. Shelly, I love you so much, and happy 8-year anniversary.
Happy 8-year anniversary to going to prison, I guess.
There you go. Cheers, everybody. See you next time. I'm out of here. Peace.
Bye.